Hello, and welcome back to yet another LARP podcast with me, Mark/Lucan, my co-host.
And me, Matt/Darren. There we go.
And today we have Becca and Curtis joining us from the wonderful nation of Navarr, one of Empire's 10 imperial nations that people can play as their player characters. And we're going to have a lovely chat about what is Navarr? What is a Navarr?
Mm-hmm.
What is Navarr?
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on, both of you. We really appreciate it, and we are really looking forward to learning a bit more about Navarr. Obviously, we know you guys anyway, and we know various Navarri, but we don't just sit around talking about nations most of the time when we're in the field. So I think this will be a good opportunity to do that without having to worry about icy stuff going on. So, as we always do, we would love to hear about how you both got into LARP, and maybe some of the different LARPs that you've both done, and then a little bit about your current characters that you're playing. And I'll let you decide between you who wants to go first.
I think I can go first, because you obviously got into LARP before me.
Yeah, so I got into LARP by one of my friends who ran the Dungeons and Dragons club that we did. He went to Empire first, had an okay time, came back to it and told us all about it. It was like, oh yeah, it's like Dungeons and Dragons-ish, not quite, but you play it as the person. Like, you don't roll dice, you do it.
Mm.
And when he first said about it to me, I was like, not too interested. And then I started looking into it, watched some videos on YouTube about it, and was like, go on, I'll give it a go then. About a month, I think it was a month before E2 of 2018, was when I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And then most of what I learned about Empire, I learned in the car journey to E2, looking on the phone and being like, right, what's this? What's that? What's this? Navarr, wait, that's me. Liath of Vimberkelly, and I'm from that one. I won't read the other ones. What's this? So I arrived late on the Friday, missed all the new player stuff, and then most of my time was spent walking around the field going, what's this? What's that? Who are you? I'm from Brass Coast. What's a Brass Coast? So I was very oblivious coming into LARP.
Yeah, I think you've raised quite a good idea there. Actually, I never thought about using the car journey as time to brush up. I guess because I was driving, but there must be a way to. Well, there definitely is a way to have the wiki read out to you. I guess using one of those programs that reads websites to you.
Yeah, like even in our journeys down now, because I do. If you've ever seen the summarized Navarr wins, I tend to type those up and I try and TLDR all the wins that involve Navarr stuff. And then in the journey down, I'll sit down and go through with people right, what don't you know? I don't know this. So I'll read through the wins and explain things to people so they know what's going on. So even if somebody's driving, I can then sit there and be like, oh, well, this is happening in this territory, this is happening here.
Yeah, nice. That's
We
such a good idea.
like you.
Yeah.
I think-
Yeah, we are terrible. To be fair though,
wins for us.
we did look at some of the wins before E1, didn't we? On one of the last videos.
Quite good, yeah.
It was very rushed and it was very unthorough, but we gave it a go. We gave it a go.
Mm.
I like that idea. I like the using the car journey.
Yeah. And then events that I've been to is mainly Empire. Empire's most of what I've done. I attended Curious Pastimes for about a year, where I played as one of the wolves. Got stuck in with that. Haven't been since. I've been more prioritizing Empire things. And I've done is it ILARP or Feast Your Eyes who hoist the colours? I can never remember which one's which.
I love
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought you'd know. Yeah, I've done Hoist the Colours by ILARP, which was their pirate game, and I'm booked to do Realms this year as well, which is the Fey LARP.
I want to do Realm so bad, and I've seen today there's still a couple of crew tickets, and I'm like, may I, dare I?
Do it.
I'm trying to be a little Fey folk for a bit.
Morph gang.
I think my introduction into LARP is very contrasted to Curtis's.
Okay.
I was part of a D&D adjacent Discord server, and some of us were like, you know what? let's go try LARP together. And so like a group of like 30 of us were like, okay. And I think there was like a poll, and we decided we were gonna have a look at Empire because there's a lot about it online. And then it was like, okay, like we sort of split into what nations we wanted to do, and I was like, I wanna try and do Arthurian Knights. I'll do Dawn. This was during lockdown. And then, you know, I spent a lot of time in the Discords and like talking to existing players, basically learning through osmosis, being in conversations with the people who are distinctly very starved of LARP and just wanted to get back. And so I basically just learnt about Empire online. And so I came into my first game last year stupidly paired. And also having done a lot of player events before my first game. So like smaller games themed with my Empire character. And to the point where I'd switched nation from Dawn to Navarr in that time before even hitting the main field. It was very stupid.
I think you're possibly the first person we've had on who's gone to a player event first. Is that
Yeah.
the same? I think so, yeah.
I believe so.
Which is quite a cool way of doing it. Like, obviously, player events are sort of maybe unrepresented sometimes, but they're a great way to get into the game. And obviously, you've got to dabble before you even got to a mainliner, and obviously, you've changed your nation because of it, which is again a great way to try out characters and stuff. So.
Yeah,
I think it's self-contained, and I think a lot more accessible to people that I don't know, like especially plons. Because the first one I went to was a social one, and that. I didn't really know too much of what to talk about, so I was just trying to get the use of talking in character with people. And then the second one had like self-contained plot and combat, which I love as well, and so I could fairly get into that. I will say as well, during that time, I'd spent a lot of time crewing and playing various LARP games, who run incredible games. And so by the time I got into Empire properly, I'd had a fair amount of LARP experience over lockdown, because whereas Empire itself wasn't running big events, the smaller ones could run. So that was quite nice. It was quite nice just to get my feel for LARP and be like, oh no, I do really like this actually. Yeah.
I think as well as being our first person that went to a player event first, you're also probably the only person I know that has started in a different nation and then changed the nation before even getting to Empire. Yeah. That's quite a unique situation.
It's quite a feat, quite an achievement.
Yeah, but I think it's you obviously, like, you know your character, don't you? Because you felt that your place is more in Navarr than Dawn before even experiencing Dawn. That's.
I will say, like, it was decided. I think it was mostly as I learnt more and more about Empire online, was that I was like, actually, I really like the sound of Navarr, and so I see my character as railroaded hard into moving nation, but I basically just, like, as I spoke to Curtis, for example, wherever Curtis is. Like, more online, just learnt more about Navarr, and I was like, actually, this sounds way cooler. Let's be a Navarri, but I also want to keep my character that I've stupidly made. So let's do a move. That'd be a fun story.
I was gonna say, like, again, you've done another interesting thing. Not only have you sort of moved nation before you even got to an event, like, you've kept the same character, which, you know, it's quite easy to bin off a character and start afresh. But there is always that option to jump between nations. You know, I know another player friend who's done the same, and again, it's quite an interesting option to do, where you can still keep your character and go move to another. Obviously, it's not as simple. You got to go chum up to the Egregores or something like that to swap nation. But yeah, again, that's quite a cool thing you've done.
I think it's just also thematic for Navarr, considering we're here talking about Navarr. Like, it literally says on the wiki that running off and joining Navarr, if you're feeling particularly, like, downtrodden, is very valid. And
it's very on brief.
It's very on brief to just run off and join Navarr.
Yeah, your place in the Great Dance changed.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost as if it's part of our nation's religious system.
That's awesome. No, that's what I like is like you say, that is a chalk and cheese between both of your first experiences of LARP in general, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So Matt, I turn to you as I always do to ask the question: what are we talking about here today? What do you want to chat about?
There we go.
Other than the nation of Navarre.
Yeah, I guess less more focused questions, but I kind of tried to do a few questions, but they're quite broad and So I guess the first one we want to cover is, what is the nation of Navarre, right? So it is a nation in the Empire, obviously, but I guess this also rolls into my other question. Actually, no, that's about the people. We'll talk about the nation to start with. Obviously, what makes them stand out, and what's their role? Do you think what's their role, and what makes them different to other nations in the Empire? Are they more important than other nations? Are they better than other nations?
Always,
of course.
Loaded questions coming in.
Yeah. So between you two, you'll juggle it. What do you think makes Navarre stand out? Is there any sort of, obviously I know you're quite into the history side of it, and I learned the other day about the trods and stuff, so that's quite important. So yeah.
Do you want to start or should I go?
No, you go, Curtis. You
Okay.
go.
So the statement I always come to first with Navarre is that Navarre are the blood of the Empire. It's one of the statements on the wiki is that Navarre is the blood of the Empire. So they are the nation that travels across all the territories in form of either the good bit of either stridings, who travel all the territories, or steadings. So if you're part of a striding, you walk the trods, and the trods are the easiest comparison is like ley lines, which crisscross across the Empire. They wind, they twist. I'll get onto the purpose probably a bit later, but other than going straight to a history lesson, I'll do the overview first, because I will just do history lessons. But the striding is what the trods, they take people where they need to be, they take resources where they're needed, they combat barbarians, they combat bandits, they combat the Valorn, and they move from place to place. And then the steadings are either typically a settlement, so it is like any other town or village in another nation, or they can form like way houses, which are like temporary shelters where people can stay and rest, or they can form tarries, which are like little like resource huts. And then it's the stridings and steadings working together that makes Navarre. So the steadings will grow the crops and defend the areas and make the goods and resources, and the stridings will come along and they'll be provided for, they'll help out, they'll help one another, and it's the stridings and steadings working together that makes the nation of Navarre and enables them to walk the trods, defend their lands, protect the Empire.
And straight away, I think that that completely busts the myth that probably perpetrates in other nations, definitely around Wintermark, that everyone in Navarre is just out to stab stuff. And I'm not going to allow Becca. I'm not going to allow you to say that Navarre just go around stabbing stuff, because you're doing yourselves a disservice.
I'm not the best example of that, considering my first event I was tried for attempted murder trying to kill someone.
Yeah, but who hasn't though?
You can talk to me about it in play, but yeah, no. I think Navarre, like, because so for context, Navarre have a very sort of wood elf and ranger feel. They are travelers, like in some cases travelers, some case as Curtis mentioned, like they support the stridings, but they're very sort of like wood elf ranger feel. So they're very much used to being out in those like awful wooded areas and dealing with awful beasties, or supporting people that deal with awful beasties, and ready to support the Empire in its goals. The one of the phrases as well is from the history, but it's we've lost one empire, we refuse to lose another. They are staunch supporters of the Empire, and sometimes it requires some stabbing. They have a reputation for being a bit stabby, but it comes from a good place sometimes. Obviously, there are outliers.
Ravani.
I mean, to be fair, we could probably say the same about every nation. I know there's definitely a couple of bloodthirsty players in Wintermark for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome.
No, absolutely.
Well,
I think probably now we'll probably divert into the history thing.
I was going to
Before
say,
we
yeah,
were doing
probably, yeah.
Which it's a main fundamental of Navarre. Like as Becca said, they've lost one empire. So the empire before the current empire was called the Empire of Truenail. And at their height, they cast a great ritual, didn't go quite as they expected, led to the destruction of their empire. And the people from the time of Truenail have become what are the Navarre now. So the people of Navarre are descendants of the survivors of the fall of Truenail, and then the ritual going on created an entity called the Valorn, which I'm going to try and be as brief as I can be for how I am as a person and my character.
The Valorn is the central purpose for Navarre to exist.
Yeah. And like when you join the nation of Navarre, you swear a binding of thorns, which is like a tattoo that everybody in Navarre has, and that is an oath of we will destroy the Valorn and we will reclaim the lost lands of Truenail. So that is the everybody in Navarre has sworn that oath, and everybody in Navarre is joined in that purpose.
Oaths are incredibly important to Navarre, kind of stemming from this commitment to destroy the Valorn. They're also Navarre, I think, are also very patient. That might not be. We have to go and combat it constantly, every moment of every day. The Valorn has existed for over 1,000 years, and will likely continue to exist for quite a while. But we work to constantly to progress its destruction. That's the sole purpose of the nation. Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, the Trods are a tool that we use to weaken the Valorn. So by walking those Trods, that draws power from it. So that is why the steadings have been established, is to ensure that they can be protected, that the lands can be protected, the Stridings can be supported as they're walking the Trods, and then again, the Stridings defend the steadings when they're looking after it. It's all about the travelling. The purpose is to walk the Trods to weaken the Valorn.
Yeah, that's cool.
Trods make us real fast, right?
So
simple
version get across the Empire quicker, or is that just like a fake story about
the Trods? The Trods essentially make it so that when you, after walking, instead of sleeping, instead of being horrifically tired for walking 25 miles a day, you are refreshed. It's got spring magic, which is all about renewal and.
So that
growth.
explains sort of quicker travel in a way, because you're less knackered at the end of it.
Yeah, it basically renews you. It makes you feel not tired.
Yeah, you can walk further at a better pace and not be as tired in the process.
Yeah.
I know people use it as a bit of an excuse to explain why they've done 2 player events in a week between them across their whole empire, and they're like, the Trods. That's how I did it.
I'm very guilty of that.
Yeah, I think when Tom and I went to
Whiteglade?
Yes, that was it. Yeah, we were in Mitwald the week before for a different player event. So I think it was I can't remember the exact distance, but we would have had to have been, I think, running non-stop for about a week to have gotten to where a Quiet Glade was supposed to be compared to where we were.
But when it gets to player events, it just all disappears. You don't need to worry
it was fine. It was the Trods. Although we when we time in, we started in the middle of the woods, off of the beaten path, absolutely lost, and we ran into Hugh Dominos at the time.
Oh,
of all people.
Angry man. I remember that player event. It was good.
It was
My
good.
first event was Navarr.
It was your first event as Navarr.
There is actually. Sorry, Becca. Go on.
No, so we had just come from another player event the week before. Again, that was in Herkinia. So that is literally opposite end of the Empire. And that's where Curtis's former character died.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was one skirmish away from retirement.
One skirmish away.
Skirmish away from a long and happy life. And
Always
died.
the way.
yeah, and Ravadi was still Dornish at the time, and was like, just gonna go and have a jaunt to watch these Valorn. Funny.
Oh no.
Actually,
now where we are.
I'm just trying to find. I'm pretty sure that I have a picture of, it's Yuka talking to Dennis's character at the time, and I'm just stood there watching you two talk right in the middle. I don't know why. I saw it a couple of days ago, but I can't find it now.
I'll fill in a gap a minute of half a minute of him. But just a really cool thing about Ravadi's kit is that you still wear your belt sash of your Dornish house, don't you?
I like having the little mementos that I have from my previous nation. Because for context for people that maybe not know, when you switch nation, you don't have a weird mid ground. You are wholly that nation. But it is quite nice to hold on to trinkets from your former nation. So I have a little belt tag, I don't know if it's around me, that has my former house from Dawn. And also all the little favors and trinkets I was given, because favors are a part of Dawn's hearth magic. And so I have a lot of those constantly on my belt. I've been discarding some of them because I've had to do the Navarr hearth magic of unburdening. Unburdening, it kind of works like when you're on the trods, you don't want to be held back by things, and so both spiritually and physically. So you don't want to carry unnecessary things. So in order to let go of your emotions and maybe your attachments to things that you shouldn't hold, you can unburden it. So when a couple members that Ravadi knows died, they had favours from them. And they were like, okay, these people are dead. I'm very upset, but I need to move on. And so they cast them into the fire as part of an unburdening ceremony. And now my belt's a little bit lighter of 2 trinkets, but I've now got others since then. So, it balances out.
I think it's a great way to get into your hearth magic side of things, because if you've got it, it's part of the game you can play into, which is great.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. I mean, did we talk about what our characters were?
I was just thinking that we didn't.
I don't think we've introduced that.
No. I'll have to use the magic of post-production editing to put it back in at the intro.
Well, yeah, I mean, do it properly.
Nah, it's fine.
We've learned a bit about Ravadi, but if you want
Who do you play, Curtis?
No, you've been talking. You go for it. You can go first once.
So I play Ravadi Founders Dance, formerly Dornish, now Navarri, who's best friends with Curtis's character Navarr, and they are the champion of vigilance, which is a synod religious thing rather than a Navarri thing. So I won't go too in detail with that, but they are a Navarri thorn, so they are a staunch defender of the Empire against threats.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
The Empire thanks you for your service.
No, that's cool.
I'm going to be cheeky now.
What? Gone?
So I'm going to be cheeky now and do my funky little. Ooh, I can change my background. Ha ha ha.
Oh, crazy.
So I play Navarr Autumngale. I play Navarr Autumngale. My character is the current advisor on the Valorn, which is a Navarri title. So I am a Navarr appointed senatorial advisor on Valorn matters. And also part of my role is I am the custodian of the library of Hosinian in Herkinia, which essentially is a compilation of knowledge on Truenail and Valorn things. So essentially, if it's Valorn and Truenail related, I probably know it, or would like to know it if not. So essentially, I'm just a history nerd who's really obsessed with Valorn and Truenail.
You're an expert. What are you trying to say?
And the advisor to on the Valorn title is an imperial title, isn't it?
It's an imperial title, but it's elected by Navarr senators for a Navarr citizen. So you have to be a Navarri to be appointed to it.
Yes.
The expert on Truenail and Valorn.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
And wait, hang on, which hand is this one? And obviously, I am a high lineage Naga.
Yes.
Ah, a Naga, nice, very nice.
Which in some ways, Ravadi is a Naga as well. And
I'm also a Naga. I don't know if you've spoken about lineages yet, but I'm also.
We've touched on them. We haven't done
we
haven't done a full video yet, but
Basically, we're both snake people, and so we're very silly. Yeah,
silly.
Very silly.
very silly. But Ravadi also supports Navarr in his sort of work as advisor. But because Ravadi has a title, cannot support more than too much. But yeah. I normally help by collecting information about various artifacts that we have from the time of Tarunau, and so to try and collate the information we have so that we can like figure out how it was created, how to make it not happen ever again, essentially.
Nice.
Great.
And
Busy.
I think also
you both sound you have busy weekends by the sound of it.
yeah.
Empire events, should I say.
I think also a good way we can probably use as a tangent is, so also there is a Vate. He's a ritualist who specializes in several realms. Specializes in day, night, and spring. But my archetype is as a Vate, and then also Navarr is a guide. And is a guide currently of the way. A guide of the Great Dance currently, which was a recent change.
And is that a Navarri archetype?
Yeah, so those are both archetypes. Vate and guide are archetypes.
Okay. Cool. What other archetypes?
Yeah, so I'm pointing to you because you go for another archetype.
Ravani's a thorn,
go.
which is another archetype. Thorns are, as I said, sort of sworn in the defense of the nation and the empire. So they are sworn to always be prepared to deal with threats. They primarily are the nation's fighters, but not every fighter is a thorn. And yeah.
And is there a I should know this really, but it would be good for people that are also newer to Empire. Is there an archetype for sort of the leadery type person of your striding?
There are two other archetypes in Navarr. There is a brand and broker. We'll go for broker. Brokers are generally people that trade and try to provide goods for the nation. Every archetype, every role in the nation tends to support the nation, like without cost. They do their job and benefit from everyone else doing their job. Okay. So brokers tend to provide like trade and provide resources for the use for Navarr.
Yeah, they also oversee trade. So if there's like other places to get things from, they will oversee that the goods go from the right place to the right place if they don't do it directly themselves.
Yeah. Do you want to talk? We can talk. You can go more in detail into guides are, for example, and Vates.
So with guides, guides as the archetype is Navarri priest. So they are somebody who helps people interpret the Great Dance, and that is the Navarr specific belief of everybody is part of the Great Dance and has a place within it. And where they are in the Great Dance can change. Like, your place in the Great Dance now is not necessarily your place in the Great Dance later. And that by changing where you are, changing your situation, changing what you're doing, you can better pursue virtue. So the guides, they help people if they're like, I'm really struggling with virtue, I don't know what I'm doing. The guides will stop and be like, right, well, where are you? What are you doing? Is where you are right now where you're supposed to be? Like, I've got a thorn earth, but I feel wrong. Like, well, is your place in the Great Dance still to be a thorn? Or should you try doing something else? And it's helping people find that balance of virtue and the Great Dance and how the two interact with one another. And then guides, specifically part of their oath, will not guide somebody for their own benefit. The guide oath is to help somebody find their place in the Great Dance for the good of the person you are helping. And then the Vate oath is to be somebody who provides magical assistance for the nation without asking for cost. So you do not seek recompense for providing magical aid to the nation. You're there to support the nation in magical matters. You're there to help the nation. And also, Vates are the people who have taken an oath to be specifically trusted to deal with Eternals and Heralds. So if it's a magical entity that the Navarr need to deal with, it'll be a Vate who deals with it, because their oath has made them swear that I am the person who can be trusted to deal with this entity.
Yeah.
You'll often hear around Navarr, if there's something magical approaches camp, you hear not a bait. If someone is, and then they'll be like, or a yell will go out for bait. Please, there is a herald somewhere trying to talk to me. I need a bait. I am not qualified to deal with this. Please, someone responsible come and save me.
I have heard
to be able to say it.
I have heard in passing through Navarr many times. People are having conversations, and it always ends with, "You should speak to the Vates," and then off they go. And now I know what that means.
Yeah.
I miss being able to say not a bait.
Not a bait. I love saying not a bait. And not a bait as well. Great.
Yeah. We have a similar catchphrase, but ours is not Navarr.
Yeah, that's true. Although we try everything to look like Navarr.
Try to separate yourselves from Navarr.
Yeah, well, yeah, it has come up before, but we very unfortunate in our color scheme and geographical placement on the field.
Also, last event,
right
they've cleared a lot more woodlands in the last event, like a lot of the brushes and stuff. So beforehand, there was kind of a divide between the Navarr camp and ours, Mark. And then we literally turned up on Thursday, and there's just like 2 Navarr camp tents basically in our camp, and we were like, "Oh, okay, cool." So we're literally like tent to tent last event.
Oh, right.
Which obviously didn't help things but we have a Wintermark sign now to try clearly divide.
I did see it. It was like you are leaving Wintermark, and like you are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Amy made that very good.
You're welcome, Maxine.
Yeah.
Well, that is my extremely long play of getting Birchenhall to slowly move into Navarr has come into effect. It's obviously working.
Just the inevitable swallow up of Navarr as they slowly take over the field.
Yeah.
We are the biggest nation now.
Yes.
We are bigger than Wintermark now. Well, at least there wasn't free bookings. I don't know what it was.
It felt
last
big.
event we were bigger than the Wintermark.
I have definitely noticed in the last year or so that Wintermark just doesn't seem as many new players coming in. Like I remember a couple of years, maybe even before COVID, the amount of people, like, because at the start of the event we do what we call it a moot. I don't know what Navarr call it, where we have like a little gathering in the middle, and at time in, and we'd always have like new people come into the middle and we'll all clap them and stuff. And I've been there, and I swear there's been like 60, 70 people go in the middle, like tons. Whereas the last few events, it just doesn't seem that big anymore. But saying that, I don't go to the moot, so I don't really see much of it. But yeah, it seems not as big. And then it kind of makes sense that I think either new players are being attracted to these other nations, like Navarr, for example, or you're getting a lot of older players kind of moving on to other nations. So yeah, it's cool not to be the biggest group, because I think Wintermark just got flack for years about just being really big.
Navarr together strong.
Nice for someone else to take the mantle.
Yeah.
Navarr together strong.
Yeah, but so
Matt, do we want to? I was just going to say, while we've been talking about archetypes, do we want to also? You've missed an archetype. Well, we'll do the last archetype, and then I was wondering if maybe we talk about some of the Navarri hearth magic.
Well, what I was about to say, yes and yes, but what I was about to say is the next question is all about archetypes, and we basically drifted into it. But before we cover the last, I guess you're about to talk about brands, right?
Yeah.
We already spoke about it. Okay, so
he's learning.
Before we talk about it, I just noticed that Navarr have 5 archetypes, which is the least out of all the other nations.
Mm-hmm.
Which is quite interesting. You look at a lot of the other nations, they have like 8 archetypes.
Yep.
And Navarr have 5, which I don't know what people feel about that. Is that good or bad? I don't know. But,
we have strong opinions on it.
We're strong opinions. Navarr archetypes tend to work very differently to other nations' archetypes. Whether that is by design or not is unclear. But there are a number of people trying to make other archetypes, but that requires a big cultural shift. So it's quite difficult.
But I guess it makes character design and character sort of focus easier. Because I was looking at the Imperial Orcs one, for example. And there's like 8 archetypes, and they're like, I guess the more archetypes you have, the more sort of niche they become. Whereas in theory, if you have fewer, they can be a bit more broad. Maybe not.
I think the big issue with Navarr archetypes is that they often get the way they're assigned is very like this archetype is for this part of game.
Yeah.
So there can be a lot of times where people go, oh, you're a mage or a Vate. And that's not how it works. Like, a Vate is different to a magician. Like, it's a specific role that the society plays for magicians. Like, if you're a magician who offers your services for payment, you're not a Vate. If you don't deal with Eternals and Heralds, you're not a Vate, you're just a magician. Whereas a lot of people see the Navarr archetype and go, you're a Thorn, you're a fighter, you're a broker, you're a trader, you're a guide, you're a priest. And they're supposed to be more than that, but because they're so, like, 5 roles and 5 archetypes, it gets jumbled together a lot.
They also tend to get jumbled together, and a lot of people have multiple archetypes. In that, that's not a thing you can have mechanically, but a lot of people will say, for example, with Navarr being both a Vate and guide.
Yeah.
Different. It's your oath to the nation. You serve both purposes, but you're not. So, yeah. Whereas Navarri is pure Thorn, although at some point might take a brand, but they are a Thorn. They have other parts now. They have recently taken dedication, which sort of makes them a priest, but they are not a guide. Absolutely not.
Not yet.
It's interesting how you talk about archetypes for Navarr. Like you said, by taking on the role of an archetype, you're swearing an oath to the nation to perform that role.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know with other nations if you have such that sort of oath, you know, like with Wintermark. I won't go into Wintermark actually, but yeah, like I feel like with the Imperial Orcs, for example, like taking certain archetypes seem to be a bit more of a guide on how you play. So it gives you a role, but you're not swearing to that role by like the way Navarr sounds like they do, which is interesting.
It's also different because in Navarr, like it's the only nation where it says like people who are this role are sometimes also this role. Like it says on the archetypes, like Thorns can also be Vates, and Thorns can also be Brands, and Vates can also be Brands. It's the only nation I'm aware of where it says on the archetypes that they can be multiple roles at once.
We talked a bit about Brands. Brands are people who have sworn wholly their service to the nation. Like they have dedicated themselves to the community. It is used as the leadership role because in Navarr, if you are a leader and have not sworn yourself to the community, it's meant to be like, why are you leading? Do you not care enough to swear yourself to the community? You must be self-serving in your leadership.
Yeah, why would you swear to serve us if you're going to lead us? Like, it's very suspicious.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Navarr very much, we follow who we want, we choose who we follow. If you are not willing to swear an oath to us that you will serve us, why are we following you? So basically that makes brands our leaders, but the brand oath is one of service. So you don't. It's a bit weird.
It can be on the scale of a striding or a steading, it can be on the scale of a nation, it can be on the scale of an empire. It is simply a public oath of service to a particular role.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting side of it's an interesting game, way to play, like, especially if you're, like you kind of said then, like, why would someone follow someone if they're not, you know, if they're not a brand, if they're, you know, if they're trying to take a leadership role. It's quite I guess it gives you not necessarily like infighting, but accountability. But then, am I right in thinking the quote from "actions have consequences"? There we go. That's on the Navarr page. You know, so I guess everything you do, yeah, I guess, like I say, consequence, or it's got to mean something. You know, and that's where the whole, you know, it's easy to say you want to lead people, but you need to kind of back that up by making a promise that you're going to support. You know, which and then I guess you can just hold people for accountability.
Yeah,
I was going to say also, the brand is denoted by a physical brand. In character, the character swears the oath and gets poked with a hot poker and branded on their face. It's part of the ceremony. It has creeped a lot of people out in the past, thinking that the person was actually getting branded out of character, but it's It's quite funny when we get that reaction from other nations. It is a physical brand. It is meant to remind someone of that burden in a lot of cases and their service.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh.
And then it's burned on your skin as well, so it's visible, so people can see that you're branded and see that earth. It's not something you can be like, oh yeah, I'm totally a brand. It's like, where is it then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah.
how in terms of fizz repping, that is that obviously we can see some images in the background. Presumably, the black face paint is tattoos, which we'll talk about in shortly, and then presumably the red ones are probably the brands. Is that
So it's entirely down to the individuals.
okay?
Different people do it in different ways. Like my character Navarr actually has a story about brands, tattoos, and scars, and about how to tell them apart, which is basically a joke where you can't. You ask the Navarri.
Oh.
If you want to know what it is, you ask the Navarri.
It's also what if we're moving into hearth magic. Tattoos are. We've mentioned how oaths are incredibly important to Navarr. Tattoos are the way Navarr marks them, and the more prevalent that tattoo is. So if it's a facial tattoo, for example, the more sort of important it is. You should. It's like you shouldn't be hiding your oaths. Wear them on your skin, sort of thing. So it's a tattoo. I'm not great. I'm not a great example in terms of differentiating what is tattoo and what is not. My character also has war paint. My war paint is black. That they wear constantly as a sign of their constant readiness to defend the nation and the Empire. As part of the Thorn thing, Thorns do that. They constantly wear war paint. So I have my war paint in black. I also have my Binding of Thorns, which is on my neck, which is my most prevalent tattoo. And that is in brown and black. It's both colours. And then I have my Thorn tattoo, which is in red, which is the oath I took when I became Thorn. I have my Striding tattoo, which is in brown. I have my Vigilance tattoo, which is in black, green, and brown. It's not great in terms of differentiating which is a tattoo and which isn't. But you just ask the individual.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way of starting a conversation, at least.
Yeah, and most Navarri will have, like, we'll say, if you ask them, oh, what's that tattoo for? Most Navarri will be like, oh, this is for this. So, like, for Navarr, like, I do colour differentiate mine. So, because Navarr has black scales, all my tattoos are red. If Navarr has something on their body which is, like, a red marking, for Navarr that's a tattoo. If it's a black marking, that is paint. Because the half magic of oaths, it's the thing of, like, as Becca says, it's the more visible it is, the more prevalent it is. So, because Navarr is so high lineage for me, I basically have no facial real estate to do tattoos with. So instead, for Navarr, it's all on my arms. And Navarr has like a very short sleeve tunic, sleeveless robe, and I like have most of my arms exposed because then I can have tattoos all over my arms rather than on my face. But they're still visible because to Navarr it's like I'm still showing you this. And then like with different oaths, they can last for different times. So like the archetype oaths, that is my role in society. I will mark it in ink as a tattoo because that's permanent. If you go into battle, it's like, while I am in battle, like if you're not a Thorn, like Thorns do it for longer. But like when Navarr goes to battle, Navarr puts on war paint because that is an oath of, while I'm wearing this war paint, I will be a fighter of Navarr and will protect my nation. And then there's other methods like scarification, like that's a longer oath, and war paint and like more temporary means are ways of putting a visible oath on your body, but without the commitment of for until it runs its course. So like henna.
Navarr will quite often say something. If it's a temporary thing that they intend to uphold and keep themselves to. Like I've made oaths in the past, and I've sort of like cut my hand open, or like said I swear to do this for 3 months, right? And so I'll will do a bit of blood, and then I have the scar to remember rather than a permanent tattoo.
Yeah, so like Navarr's paint on his hands, one's for a relationship, and one's for a promise he made to somebody. And then Navarr reapplies that because it's like the relationship is like ongoing, so Navarr reapplies it because it's like it's still going on, so I'm going to reapply it. If it became like a longer term relationship, Navarr would then get it done as a tattoo instead. But for now, it's a renewing thing, and the promise is like I promise I will come back and visit you every so often. so that they reapplies it every time he leaves.
That's cool.
Great. So, yeah, obviously that's part of the half magic of Navarr. I don't know if there's anything else. I know we briefly spoke about the unburdening. I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about, sort of the half magic, because I'm sort of thinking come 9 we'll have a bit of a break and we'll possibly take a look at look and feel of the people of. I know we're sort of covering bits and bobs anyway, but thought we finish on. I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover on half magic.
So there's a few more half magics. I've got mine around on me.
Oh, I can see if I can find my braid.
Show and tell.
Show and tell.
Yeah, so the one thing we're looking for is currently our braids, because another Navarri half magic is braiding. Okay. So it is. You've got yours? Oh. So, because some Navarri are parts of stridings, and some Navarri parts of steadings, there might be friends, family, loved ones who you don't see for a while. And people can move between stridings and steadings, again, with the whole aspect of the Great Dance. It's like, I don't want to be in a steading anymore, I want to join a striding. Or I don't want to be in a striding anymore, I'll join a steading. So people you are familiar with and who mean a lot to you can be halfway across the Empire from you. So in Navarr, you will make a braid with somebody. And the important aspect is that you make it together. And that by making the braid together, you form a connection with this person. It like enhances a connection with a person. There's different ways of doing it, different strands and steadings have different means, but it is a bond. And then it's on the wiki it mentions how like sometimes you can like have a sense of if somebody's like in great distress or trouble, you get a sudden like vibe of it. And the bond of a braid is so strong that if somebody dies who you've made a braid with, you can feel their loss. And it is the only, as far as I'm aware, it is the only way in game of mechanically, if somebody who you know dies and they tell you, oh, see, by the way, my character died, if you had a braid with them, your character can just get that sense and vibe. So your character can be like, hang on a minute, something's missing. What's going on?
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, that connection is just severed.
Yeah. So Ravadi and Navarr, actually, I should have my their braid. So.
Have you lost it?
So Ravadi and Navarr have a braid. Our two characters that we in character made together. Which out of character we did not make together because we were too busy and so had to make it in downtime.
Oh.
But in character we made it together and wove like parts of it together. It's basically just some woven fabric and some beads and stuff. But sometimes it can but yeah, it has this connection. And now at last event, for example, I also made another braid with someone else. And you also made a braid with that person.
Not yet.
Ravani almost died the day after making that braid. So as soon as I saw those people, I was like, by the way, out of character, like an hour ago, it got really close to breaking. It was bad. It was really bad. So then you can have that moment of being like, fuck, I almost felt you go, sort of thing. Yeah.
It makes some really good moments when you can talk to people who are seeing it's like, yeah, I got really close, and just like you see them in character, like, what happened?
Can you can you make one with somebody from another nation?
Curtis, you want to talk about Dal's braid?
Yeah, so my previous character, Dal, had a braid with somebody in Highguard, who was at a player event at the same time we were at the player event where Dal died. So when the bleed out counter hit 0, went terminal, went back to camp, got turned the circle, when I jumped into my tent, I sent him a text and was like, by the way, you feel that the braid has snapped, something is missing, something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this, because he was highborn, he didn't really understand the half magic entirely. So he got back to his thing and was like, it was a really weird moment because he'd been role-playing as if he'd lost somebody, despite not having seen the text yet. It was really creepy. But it turned out it was just there like, I'm upset and I don't know why. Something feels wrong. I don't know what's going on. Something feels like it's missing. I'm really upset. I don't understand. Something's really wrong. And it was just really like intense roleplay moments.
Wow.
It's funny with the events going at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Like it was just
Yeah.
Um,
That's cool. I like that you can do that with other nations and it's still, in game mechanically work.
I still intend on. Sorry, I'm making this one that I've sort of done my half of it. I'm gonna give it to another person. I was gonna give it last event, but then we had drama and then we had drama between our characters. So I was like, no, I don't want to make a braid with you anymore.
You're not my friend anymore.
Sorry.
So yeah, you're not my friend anymore. I don't want to give you a braid.
Yeah. But yeah, so essentially it's like you can make it, and it's quite nice in character to impose another nation's hearth magic on a character from another nation, because you get that feeling of it being a living, breathing world, and also it's funny to see their weird reaction to it, because they have like an adverse. They're like, this isn't mine, but now you're forcing it onto me. It's I don't know, it's quite nice. It's very silly.
And another half magic thing I'll pose to you before we hit 9. But sharing a meal apparently is big on the half magic.
Yeah.
Sharing food and drink in Navarr is a way of. It was one of the recent ones that I think was done over the longest arc. But essentially, sharing food and drink with somebody, you can share experience with them. When you share food and drink with somebody, it also enters you into like a deal, kind of, where it's like, I won't harm you, you won't harm me, because we're sharing this instance to communicate. And if you share food and drink with somebody, you can take some of their knowledge and some of their experience for yourself to like learn how to do things better. So, example I used for this was at a player event before the adventure to Bekeli end. I was like, well, Nathar's going to go. Nathar is not a combat character, but there are thorns around. So as we were sat around preparing for a combat tournament, as we were eating like dinner, Nathar was like, "Oh right, I've not fought in a while. Like, do you have any advice for me?" And as they were sat there discussing it, I was bonding to magical weapons and magical armor as part of like the experience. It's like, right, well, I don't know how to use this, but what would you suggest I do to try and like get that knowledge passed? And it also works for like vates and guides. It's like if a thorn's going to do something magical, they might talk to a vate, share food and drink, and the vate can like, right, if they say this, do this. If you hear this, try and do this. But it's a way to like impart experience on somebody and try and take it with you into what you're going to do.
That's cool. It's not one that gets played out too much, but it is a cool one when it does get played out. Seeking the experience of other people and doing that through sharing a meal is just quite nice.
Yeah,
Anvil's very busy.
Yeah, I like that because it kind of mirrors slightly what we do in Wintermark, being, as hospitable as we can to people to the camps. I don't think I'm not sure that's a half magic for Wintermark, but it is it? Okay.
So yeah, because you say
nations have similar eating meal half magics. I think Vorska is a very clear example of one.
Yeah.
So would you say like, I was going to say with like the Wintermark one where it's very much like just being hospitality, but would you say that possibly in Navarr you're not sharing a meal because would you possibly say that you do it to deliberately share these experiences almost as a tool for yourself to get these connections or something, or would you say it's more of just like being hostile side of it? It's
about building connections and sharing skills. It's not one we see too much actually get played out. It's one of the new ones, so I think it's still trying to find its feet.
Yeah, the common example is like teachers, like with their pupils, it's like, right, before you go and do this test, like think of our experiences, think of what we've done together, keep that in mind. And I'm not going to say that because I'm not sure if it's right, so I'm not going to say it. But that was been my experience of it so far. And then the other half magic, which we've not really touched on for the bar, is sacrifice. And a lot of that, I think, draws from... so the typical Navarri magical practice is blood magic. And it's the act of willing blood to empower rituals. And it's the sacrificing of, like, the act of willingly drawing blood and willingly sacrificing something gives power to Navarr, like, magical rituals, typically. You can use any practice you want with magic. You're not locked by nation, but blood magic is the most common Navarri practice. And then also the founders of the nation of Navarr, Navarr and Thorn, all the stories talk about how they've like committed sacrifice, and that the nation was founded and in pursuit of this sacrifice to destroy the Valorn, and your oaths are all like commitments to this in some way.
Very cool.
Sorry, Mark. Hospitality isn't half magic for Wintermont.
Oh,
But
no,
it's
I
just
didn't think it was.
you do. Sorry. I for some reason I just thought it was, but
Is it a tradition as opposed to a?
yeah, it's that's culture and custom sort of thing. So,
Right. Okay. That's cool.
yeah. Right.
Excellent. Do we want to have a quick break to get a drink, etc.?
5-minute break.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back for the people, look and feel of Navarr, which again we sort of covered, but we'll go a bit deeper for fun. So
Yeah, bro. I also would like to know more about culture and customs because we talked briefly about the Great Dance, but I'm not sure we went into detail. But I'd like to know more.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Bro, we'll be back in 5-ish.
Yeah, 5 minutes. We're now back, and I think we wanted to cover a bit on the customs again, right?
Well, not necessarily. Again, I think there's a couple we might not have covered yet.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I think we'll naturally hear a bit more about some that we might have covered. I think. Kay said there might be a bit more on the Great Dance.
Yeah, so I covered the Great Dance a fair bit in talking about guides because it's the role of guides to interpret and help people find their place in the Great Dance. And as I said, the fundamentals of it are is like people have a place where they're meant to be to do what they can do best and find where they're meant to be and can pursue, from the guide's point of view, pursue virtue the best.
And that can shift.
Yeah, that can change from nations, from stridings and steadings. And it could be the kind of thing where it's like you might leave somewhere because you feel you don't belong there, and then when you go somewhere else, you're like, actually, no, what we had before felt better. And then you go back to it and realize, actually, no, you were in the correct place the entire time. You just didn't realize it, and you had to step away to realize that was where you meant to be. So Navarr's very fluid in that aspect of it's like your place in the Great Dance can change, and it's finding your place in the Great Dance which is incredibly important, and it helps you find virtue in doing so. And another belief in this is that the Great Dance transcends lifetimes. It's not a single life entity. It's over lifetimes you will find your place in the Great Dance, and this belief also leads into the idea of partners in the Great Dance. So there are people who you will find over several lifetimes, and they can be lovers, they can be family, they can be friends. In different lifetimes there might be different aspects of that. But what matters is they are a spirit which is linked to yours, and that you will find each other again and again through the cycle of reincarnation.
That's cute. Like
Yeah.
soulmates.
Yeah, so like there's people who my character and another, we spoke OC for a bit, realised that our characters would get on very well, and kind of had like a dance partners at first sight instance where they met and just immediately were like this feels familiar. Like we've not known each other for 10 minutes, we've known each other for 10 lifetimes. And it's just everything just merges and fits well and correct. And that by finding this person, again, that is your place, is with this person. So that will help you find your place in the dance and help you find your virtue and that kind of thing.
That's awesome. I think that's really good. Obviously, I know it's probably designed that way, but it really fits in with the way, by the sounds of it. If it's reincarnation focused, obviously,
Yeah.
we do that with the way. That's,
It's also a nice thing where like one of the terms in Navarr is that death is but another step in the Great Dance. So just because somebody's died doesn't mean that they're gone. Like you will find them again in the Great Dance, which in the moment is still painful and still upsetting, but there's that reassurance that you will meet that person again. Like that spirit in yours will interact again in the future.
It was some. I wrote letters for if my character died because I was going into a very dangerous place, and I wrote letters mostly out for the drama so that I could take them to an event with me and have them found, of which Curtis now has them because Navarr found them. And so one of the things I write in there is to two people, and it's that I hope we meet again in our future lives, sort of thing. Like, I'm sorry I'm dead, but thank you for everything, sort of thing.
oh,
Yeah, it was very cute.
sorry, I'm dead.
Sorry, I'm dead.
I'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
It's not goodbye, just I'll never see you again.
It's not goodbye, it's I'll see you later.
Yeah. You'll never see this face again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it's quite cool. And obviously my character had this whole thing with changing nations. And I think one of the first people I spoke to about it were Navarri guides. Because at the time I didn't feel like I could share it with my house because I was Dornish at the time, and I was meant to be like, oh, I should uphold my house's like values, and the fact that I'm doubting is not a good thing. I will not speak to these people about it. I shall instead speak to these strangers who are guides, and it's their job to help me find my place in the Great Dance. And yeah, and I think Navarr was one of the first people that Ravali spoke to about it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Trods were calling you.
The Trods were calling Ravali. The Great Dance is a great excuse for us railroading our characters down a certain path. If we're not enjoying something, or something has happened where we want to change what we're doing, just a Great Dance.
Yeah.
Just a way of us saying, let's do this instead.
Yeah, it's like my character's changed virtue because they've just been like, my place in the Great Dance feels weird. I don't feel like this is where I'm meant to be. So my character is changing virtue because they're like, this doesn't feel right. Therefore, I should change my place in the dance. I think on the thing of the reincarnation, probably leading to like funerals for Navarr is quite an easy tangent from that.
Oh yeah,
good
point. Yeah.
Which in Navarr, it's a case of a body is just a body. Like when the person is dead, you don't have to like revere the body, keep it in like pristine condition and stuff like that. It is just a body. The traditional method when somebody dies is to inter them in a corpse glade, which is essentially just a clearing in the forest, in woodland somewhere, where you will put the body and just leave it to decompose. You'll take the goods off of it, the belongings, because the dead don't need it. It's another thing of unburdening. Like the person has died, their goods are no longer like. Why would a corpse need the boots on the shoes? Why would they need a sword? So the belongings are taken and distributed amongst the striding or steading, and to who needs it, and the body is left there to just decompose in the corpse glade.
Nice.
If you are on the trods and you can't take them to a corpse glade, you might make a small cairn, just a simple place to inter them. But again, their goods are distributed.
Very practical.
Yeah, Navarr is an incredibly practical nation.
Very focused on their practicality.
Yeah. And then the exception to this is for fighting the Valorn. So I'll briefly touch on this, but again, the Valorn is one of the main like things interacting with the Navarr culture. Like the nation is built to destroy it. That is the first oath you swear, which we'll get onto as probably a tangent soon. But when somebody dies in the Valorn, in the miasma, if the miasma has infected the body, it will be revitalized, reanimated, and come back as a Valorn spawn husk, and then will attack everybody around and try to kill everybody around it. So if somebody dies in the miasma, you don't leave a body, because you'll have to kill your friend twice. Like the body, which is familiar to you, a face that you know and love, will reanimate and try to kill you. So in Navarr, you take the bodies out of the miasma if possible, and if you can't put it in a corpse glade, if you can't take it away from the miasma, you will destroy the body, or the more practical solution is a spring ritual called Turn the Circle, which will make it decompose and just turn into nothing so that it can't be affected by the Valorn. And again, it all comes back to the practicality. It's like, if you can leave it in a corpse glade, do so. If you can't take it, destroy it.
Is there an in-character time limit for... this is going off on a slight tangent, but for if somebody dies in miasma, is there a known that it will be roughly this long before they're reanimated? So you would have
I think on the wiki it says it could happen. It could be in a couple minutes. It could be a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
It's roughly.
If you're at a player event, it'll be in the time it takes a ref to lean down and go reanimate now.
Yeah. So it could be a ref coming up to the character being like, "Hey, you're dead. Do you want to get attacked by your friends?"
Okay.
Do you want to cause some trauma?
That would
Yeah.
be really cool.
Trauma.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
being cut down in a battle and then a ref coming up to you, tapping on the shoulder. By the way, I need
Yeah.
you to be a Valorn husk now, please. And you'd be like, oh.
Meanwhile, you're frantically role playing, trying to burn your friends' bodies before the ref can get to them.
In tears.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gasoline, big tub of
But,
Oh,
and
God.
then sometimes you don't see your friend get picked up. They still might become a husk. So that's the 2 weeks. It's a very loose definition. I think by game design.
Yeah.
So
It's down to the plot.
Yeah, I guess if a friend got cut down or something like that in battle against the Valorn and maybe was in miasma and stuff, and you pulled them, say, back through the gate, I guess then you're going to have to try to figure out if they're infected, right? Because
If the body is not miasma, it will not reanimate as a husk.
not round it. Oh, okay, right.
So if you take out the miasma, it's fine. And if the body, it's like, I'm trying not to go too into details about this because this is like Valorn deep research and stuff. But if it's left in miasma, it will reanimate. If it's past a certain point, so like the Valorn can only resuscitate a body that has had like recently lost life. It isn't an undead entity. It revitalizes something that has recently died, or keeps something alive that is already like on the brink, kind of thing. So that like the corpse glades aren't a risk for the Valorn because they're already dead and they've been dead for a while. So it can't reanimate a dead body, but if somebody has recently died, it can like give them a surge of life to reanimate it, kind of thing. It's a bit wibbly wobbly, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, no.
Don't leave bodies in miasma is the TLDR.
Yeah. Clean up your mess is the thing to take away.
Cool. So, out of under the celebrations on the wiki, I know we spoke about unburdening stuff. Welcoming is a thing. What
It's
is?
spring.
It's spring.
It's spring.
Yeah, that's it.
Navarr
No,
That's it, yeah.
big celebration at springtime to basically welcome in spring.
Yeah.
I don't quite know where it originates from. It's just a nice celebration, and it takes the form of event of being Navarr and yelling "It's spring" and just going around in a massive parade, annoying all the nations and getting them involved in games and stuff. There's other things that happen at spring as well, but it's meant to be like this massive celebration and just
culturally, it stems from the fact of it's really annoying trying to walk the trods when it's freezing cold and raining constantly. So it's the turning of the seasons. Yeah, it's just like, oh, it's going to be easier to walk the trods now. Hooray! And we can grow crops and things now in the steadings. Hooray! And it's just like, it's going to be easy for the Strands to do their job, but it's going to be easy for the steadings to do what they need to do around the settlements and things.
Yeah.
So it's just. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say what the. There you go.
I don't know what I was going to say now. Huh?
At events, yeah. There's a couple of things. There's the Vate hunt that goes on, which is the Vates wear animal masks and money and get hunted as this sort of ceremonial thing. Ordinarily, it's the Vates giving out challenges to various thorns, and this is how it sort of works out at play. And it can change. But the Thorns, so last year, the Thorns went out and had to find the Vates and been like, I found you! And then the Vate would give a challenge. I got a challenge that was, you have to beat me in a fight, which I then lost the fight against the Vate. It was very upsetting. They had mage armor on and a staff, and I just had my sword. And I was like, come on.
Paralyzed, bonk, bonk, bonk.
Yeah, I think I was. And then I also had a challenge that was name a load of Eternals from Finn.
Of course.
Finn. And there was another challenge that was I had to put a peg on someone, which greatly upset me.
A peg?
As a vigilance dedicant.
Oh, okay.
I was very upset about putting a peg on someone. It's all, but then also there's the big parade that goes around into each of the nations. They'd usually do a tug of some knife fights.
Yeah,
I did a
we've been having knife fight chants in the chat, so I figured that was going to be something.
You gotta have a knife fight.
I had a lovely blindfolded knife fight in Varushka. And I haven't been able to catch that Varushkan since, but I did kind of beat him a large amount. There was one Varushkan that had a knife fight with one of our egregores, who the Varushkan was blindfolded and the egregore was not blindfolded. And that one was funny to watch as you watch all the Varushkans like, how dare you?
It ties into a Navarri saying of you can't betray your enemies.
Very true. I haven't had a knife fight since it was with Aurelio many years ago now. I haven't had the pleasure of a knife fight for a long time.
I loved my knife fight. I think I'd just come off a skirmish and was very excited to latch on to the to the parade. But yeah, so if you're at next event E2, or any E2, you will likely hear "It's spring."
It's spring.
Yelled. I can't get it now because but.
So check out Navarr next event then, essentially, because they're gonna have a load.
You'll hear us.
Yeah, it sounds
There'll
like
be a wandering parade and people will be handing out food and drinks. And...
Yeah, Navarr will come to you.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Now, I don't know if we want to cover any more culturally customs things, or if people are prepared, we can quickly skim onto look and feel, and we can kind of talk about how Navarr look and feel.
We love kit. We do.
They look with their eyes, with their hands. Cool. So you kind of mentioned earlier, like inspirations from Lord of the Rings Rangers and Wood Elves, right?
Can we preface that the Navarr look and feel page isn't that great? Personal opinion.
Disclaimer.
Both of us are not a massive fan of the page that's on the wiki.
That's fine. We will go with your insights.
Yeah, you
both
just
of your insights.
All I've got is the wiki. But...
I'm saying nothing. Leave me out of this.
It's too late. Becca's spoken.
And for me now, Curtis.
I feel like I say this every video, but the thoughts and ideas presented in this stream are not reflective of those of the hosts. TM.
Please bear in mind as well, like we are players. We are not official like PD representatives. We could be wrong. Check the wiki. Do not take all of our words as fact, etc.,
etc.
I am hoping, 4 months into this little venture of Matt and mine, that people know that we're not very serious or official or clued up, particularly on anything.
But we try, and that's what counts.
I don't have any examples to show my stuff.
I've got my pictures.
Not easily accessible anyway.
You are officially a creator, aren't you? You're a maker, Becca. You make stuff.
I do enjoy making kits. I got into LARP during lockdown, which and I'm a student, so I have not very much money, but a large amount of time most of the time. Not right now. I'm having an awful day. But yeah, so I basically was like, I need to save money. I'm gonna teach myself to sew, and then just started making myself a LARP kit. One of the pieces I like has been my lockdown child, was a coat for Navarr that I put 100 hours of hand embroidery into. So Navarr are wood elf ranger vibes. So a lot of their a lot of it's in like very natural colours, browns, greens, orange, red in some cases. Like a lot of the natural colours and various shades of all of those. And as such, all the decoration and stuff on that tends to take the form of vines, leaves, thorns, that sort of thing. So a lot of my stuff that I've done is either embroidered or painted onto. So a lot of my stuff is hand embroidered. that I've done thorns on my coat, or various painted stuff on my armor. I've also got painted stuff on some of my other things, but yeah, it's a lot of just wood elf and rangers. The general inspiration. My kit, I tend to go. I'm a bit more ranger than wood elf. Navarr is a bit more wood elf than ranger.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get Dal's picture up again.
You get Dal again, and because I can't show, I don't have the ability to show pictures.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
My Navarr kit.
I found a picture, Becca, that I'm going to share with you, if that's okay.
Oh no. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we've got obviously spoke about clothing. Another one we've already spoken about a lot is tattoos and stuff. So, tattoos are a big part of the look and feel of which you've already explained. So there's probably no point going into it again.
It should be a very obvious thing. If you see somebody covered in tattoos and war paint, they are probably Navarri.
Yeah, absolutely. So, would you also agree? I'm going to read the wiki and I'll pose it to you, and you'll either go, "That's rubbish," or "That's good." But they're saying sort of the Navarr are sort of more practical, a practical look rather than, I guess, super fancy. Do they see the point in having these lavish clothing, or is it more about practicality and stuff like that?
There you go. That's Ravadi.
Hey.
Oh, it's me. Oh no, it's me. So yeah, so in that picture you can see the tattoos and everything. But Navarr are very practical, but they can have nice things. Navarr can have nice things. I've recently made myself an outfit that is for player events because Ravadi was invited to some balls, and so was like, I'm gonna have a nice outfit to wear to this leaguish ball because otherwise they're going to think I'm a slob. And so I made a nice outfit for that. But it was incredibly practical. Like, I still wore my boots, I still had a weapon on me. I could run and fight in it if I needed to. And it also fit the look and general styling of Navarr as well. But yeah, I mean, Curtis, if you want to talk about your picture.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find a bigger version to send to you.
I was just looking for one of you, and I've actually found one of both of you.
Oh,
which would be quite cool.
Both.
Whilst the photos are coming out, obviously Navarr have access sort of to furs as well, right? So I guess all nations can kind of use furs, but I guess Navarr, obviously it makes sense because they're hunters or something like that, so it would make sense for them to be able to sort of get that. So I thought it was worth saying.
It's me with a Valorn head.
If anyone can't see the photo,
I'm very happy. I've got my Valorn head.
I've actually found the picture that you've got in your background as well, Kaz. So I will put that up too.
Yeah, I'm changing my background now. It won't change back for me. Rather than fiddling with that, I'll leave it up and I'll talk instead. Navarr kit is all like forest parts and things, and the practical approach. With Dal, I very much leaned into the ranger aesthetic of the Navarr brief. So with Dal, I was far more like when I do my kit, I consider like, am I striding or am I steading, and that can slightly shift what you're doing. So as part of a striding, Dal's kit was like leather bracers, leather like shin guards, and was very much like Lord of the Rings Ranger inspirations. Like I kept on looking at the Rangers of what they're called now. What Aragorn was basically like the Aragorn kind of, like, Rangers. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, the Dunedain Rangers are a really good like inspiration for the range of fights you can go for.
Oh,
and then
really making me want to make a Navarr character.
Oh no, what a shame. Maybe you should talk to a guide and see if your place in the Great Dance has shifted.
Just wander off.
You may well have.
Oh, there we go.
Don't need a new character.
That was my key style.
Don't tempt me. No, I very much enjoy Lord of the Rings, so that is an enjoyable way to entice me into Navarr by telling me that I can be a ranger, basically.
Yeah, so like having hoods is like very common thing for Navarr because it's a good like good accessory for keeping the rain off you, keeping the sun off you. Navarr is very much about the practical application of layers. It's things that are easy to clean, easy to mend. Navarr kit often will be fixed and repaired. So like having patchwork clothing that has obviously been ripped and then repaired, like you can have nice things in Navarr is definitely a thing. Like my kit for Navarr is supposed to be a settled steading member. Like he's part of a steading in Miaran, which is the central Navarr territory, and therefore it's a safe territory. There's no threats presently, touch wood, to the territory. And the steading that I made isn't supposed to be like an arts and crafts one. So Nathar's kit is very heavily embroidered, decorated, painted. It's covered a lot in decorations, which, as Becca says, it's all like natural decorations. It's flowers and vines and things. And even though it's nice kit, it's like I'd say it's on the fancier scale of things. It's still practical. It is still a hood. It is still layered. It can be taken off and added to. It's if you look close enough at Nathar's kit, it's ripped and torn, and I've repaired it with leather stitching. Because, yeah, it's nice, but it still rips. And if you have a ripped piece of clothing, why would you get rid of it? Like, a ripped pair of trousers is still a pair of trousers. There's no point in getting rid of it and getting a new pair. You just add a patch to it and it's fixed. Mm-hmm. So, like, Navarr will often mend their clothing. Like, you won't just get new outfits because you've lost something. You will repair what you've got and you'll add to what you've got, kind of thing.
Oh, sorry, Becca, go on.
I'd say you got cleaved at a player event, and then the next event you went to, you ended up with a patch in that spot.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Excellent.
Well, I can't patch every time I've been.
That's every time you go onto the field, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, it's rare for Nathair to get cleaved, so I felt it was like worth doing.
Yeah.
But
doing it's just that Rivali lost both their legs at the last battle, so I can't do. One point where I just had no legs.
Your entire kit would just be patchwork.
Yeah. The way I play it is the problem is that Rivali is as a character is from Brokeliand, which is the most infested imperial territory of Valorn. And so is an incredibly harsh place to try and live. Although Rivali, what I often wear as Rivali at events isn't what I kind of imagine Rivali to wear day to day. They have this very nice coat with embroidery and stuff, and it isn't actually that patched or anything. But I like to imagine it's what they wear when they want to impress people.
Yes.
Whereas other times when they are trying to cut through the woods of Brokeliand, they would have different stuff. But my armor is very everything about my armor stays very close into me. I know exactly where anything is. Got 2 daggers on my back and on my belt. I've got everything on one belt that can do me for most fights. All of my potions, all of my pouches, anything that I need is on my belt. And then I've got my armor to display it. I keep adding some bits to my armor where it displays parts of Rivali's story. I've got a lot of religious iconography on it. I've got my thorn fang, which is our fighting group logo on it, and I've got a saying on it that Rivali tries to live by, and that sort of thing. Lots of decoration, but it kind of keeps them grounded to what they are. It's quite nice. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to quickly draw attention to is how you both have incorporated your lineage into your kit, which I think is I know it's not specifically Navarr, but it looks cool when you have combined it with your Navarr specific kit. And I've never noticed, but you've got little pointy teeth for Navarr.
Yeah, I have fangs.
Yeah.
But Radi also does sometimes, but I don't wear them in battle because otherwise, when I'm yelling, when I'm emoting a lot, they usually fall out. And obviously, when you're in battle and running and yelling, you don't want to also choke on teeth.
No, you don't want to worry about your dentures.
Yeah. So I don't wear them in battle, and then maybe occasionally forget to put them back in after fighting. But that's another thing. It's just me.
Yeah.
So, slightly talking about battle. I'm going to quote the wiki page and you can tell me if it's right or wrong. But they're sort of talking about how Navarr fight, which I think I possibly agree with, saying they're a bit more of a... Well, I would say they're quite good at skirmishing. They're quite a good skirmish block when it comes to. Obviously, I don't know what the last battle was like when there was like hundreds of you, but from previous experiences, when you had like a block of 40 or so, they were sort of hit and run. They tended to have a bit of a ferocious charge pattern, you know, kind of a bit more run and gun, where they've kind of spears maybe. It says on the wiki like one-handed spears coupled with a shield or something would be ideal for them, but I kind of see a lot of like ambi, so wielding 2 weapons, or you know, a bit more lightweight and get around the battlefield. Compared to, for example, like High Guard or something, where they're all layered up in plate and move around very slowly.
Yeah, Navarr definitely prefers skirmish fighting. Like a lot of people, their armor is typically leather rather than heavy armor. There's a fair few people who wear chain underneath the leather and things. But like Navarr traditionally are skirmish fighters.
We like
a lot of us.
we like to like. I think there was a battle. There was a battle at E4 last year where we were with you lot. We were with Wintermark, and basically Navarr ran onto the battlefield, and we moved quickly to try and take an objective. But yeah, we don't like staying still. We want hit and retreat and back and cycle that through. Shock troops. But how it ends up, it depends. I now fight in that. I think in the picture that's on the screen right now, I was with a bow. Lots of sort of like sneaking around, seeing where I'm useful, that sort of thing. Now I fight shield and spear, like one-handed spear and shield, which I love. I miss my bow, but that's for other reasons. Navarr are like to move around and skirmish and stuff, rather sort of like a slow plank or holding of a line. The reason we made some weird faces when you were talking is because in the last battle we lost a fair chunk of our Navarr commanders. We suffered 15 losses in the last battle. 3 of which in the battle were 3 of our line commanders. So we're really feeling it right now. Like, it really hurts.
It stings.
Yeah, right. So is there a big recruitment drive coming up?
Don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Are you a commander? Are you a commander yet?
That is a good question.
Is that find out in play?
In your way.
Like, I quite like to pass messages and communicate between lines. I have been a captain in the past for Navarr. I was at E4. It depends. It's very upsetting that we've lost our commanders because they were very good. What happens from now on is unclear. Rivaldi has done some commanding in the past. Yeah.
Okay. Becca's very much like, it was very upsetting.
No, it's...
I'm joking.
Sad.
All 3 commanders had very similar knife wounds in their back. Matching a certain person's blade. No.
Look, all I'm saying is Rivaldi did a lot of crying on Sunday.
Oh no.
The 3 people they incredibly looked up to just dying like that was very upsetting.
It's rough. That is rough.
I do want to kind of loop back to the costume things a bit, because I think we kind of jumped the simplest stages of it a little bit.
That's true. Yeah.
Because we mentioned the colour colour palette, which is all the woodland tones, but like things like materials and the basic kits, I think we kind of accidentally skipped over because of who we are, and we kind of jumped straight to the decoration a little bit because we're terrible.
Yeah.
And that's the case. It's like basic Navarr kit is very easy to achieve. If you wanted to just something like brown trousers, a green tunic, and a few bits of like leather braces and a little leather decoration, if you do something like that and have your tattoos on, you're going to be immediately Navarri. Belts with pouches, always great. So many Navarr are covered in pouches. I'm terrible for it. My belt is a mess of stuff. And the wiki says the materials are primarily leather and fur, which is where me and Becca tend to be a bit like it's not too accurate, because leather and fur is expensive and not easy to clean. So most people in the field will have linen and cotton or wool. It's you don't have to have like full-on sets of like leather and furs kind of thing. The great like fur vests, leather vests are great thrown over it to add a bit more to it, and then adding paint to those kind of more decoration kind of thing. But some of like the simplest Navarr kit you can get is just a pair of good brown trousers and a green tunic, and then work up and develop from there.
Yeah.
Most of my having the tattoos is a real good identifier as well. Like, you know, you could wear a green tunic and brown trousers, and you could probably get away with being in Wintermark as well. But having as soon as you've got your tattoos on, it's you're very much recognisable as that nation, which is
or an orc mask with brown trousers and green tunic.
Yeah. Most time during the summer, it's really hot. I'm walking around in brown trousers and green tunic, with tattoos. But then that's where my decoration on a lot of my stuff comes in, is to try and make it a bit more natural looking and Navarri to try and distinguish between those other nations that have similar colour palettes.
I think it's an interesting thing where like a lot of people go like, oh well, Navarr's all just the forest palette, so they must all look the same. But if you look at Navarri, like a lot of people see it as very restrictive, the colour palette. But if you look at it, it's how you identify like the national identity, is seeing those greens and browns and those forest tones. But if you look at different groups, like if you look at like the Brittleburns, they all have like their brown shades and their highly decorated things and their feather mantles. If you look at like other groups, I would say Autumngale, but currently Autumngale is just me. There's the more down the line, but essentially like Autumngale decoration has essentially like one of the paint styles of Autumngale is like autumnal leaves blowing in the wind as one of the paint styles with butterflies and things. And then like the different groups in Navarr, like a lot of the time it'll be similar tattoos, so similar groups that have similar tattoos or similar wall paint. But there's so much room for people to like decorate their things individually and stand out from one another. Like if you look at different Navarri, you'll be able to tell who they are. There's not like they're like exactly the same. It's like the different cuts you do, the different styles you do, the blending of colours, the mixing of colours, and the decorations. Like you can make it incredibly independent, and you can make it incredibly stand out from a different group, but then all be recognised by Navarri.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great. Yeah. I guess this rolls into our last little bit, which is a bit lighthearted, I guess. But I've put "Sell us your nation" for new players and for old. So apart from job opportunities opening up in the captain, military captains, you know how you between the sort of the two of you, you know, if you were to go, oh hey Matt, this is why you should join Navarr. I know it's quite to each person's taste, but what would be your sort of core, like, why do you think is a great nation to play? Like, why do you enjoy it, and why do you think people would enjoy it? You know.
I mean, I really enjoy it. It's like hard line on a lot of things. I enjoy its like fierce practicality, and broadly, Navarr have a shared goal. Unlike other nations like maybe Dawn or the League, where they might have a bit more infighting, Navarr all have a singular shared goal that everyone can unite behind. And regardless of your personal qualms with other people in Navarr, you all serve this one goal. And I think that gives really cool roleplay. Also, both of us play Valorn researchers, which is a large portion of our game. Obviously, Navarr, it's literally Navarr's whole thing.
Help, please. I have so many documents. I have so much information, and help me.
I really liked it, because what helped me get involved in the world was learning about that history and learning about what formed Navarr. So what was Tarunel? What was all of this horrible history that went on? What is the purpose of Navarr? And how does that shape the decisions we make now? And
you remember, like, we're a post-apocalypse culture.
Yeah.
Like, we have seen the destruction of an empire. That is our, like, heritage.
and
then
no, and doing a lot of the research into that, and like if I have pieces of historical importance to Navarre, and I could literally walk up to any member of Navarre and tell them the story of it, and they'd be like, "That's really cool." Like, to hold a piece of history, that's what I quite like interacting in Navarre about. Is apart from all the fighting, I love fighting. I really like Navarre's hardline practicality and the broad history of why we do what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like as you say, like with the sharing of like the relics and things, comes into like an aspect which we probably hit on was songs and stories, which is like Navarre. We host songs and stories at events, which is several hours where people can come forward and share a song and a story, and it's a very like communal endeavor. It's a very like anybody can come along and take part. Anybody can have something forward and try and perform it. If you're shy and nervous, people will be incredibly encouraging. People will be behind you, like, yeah, you can do it, go for it. Like, share with us. We're all here to listen to you, and we're happy to do it. And Navarre, like, following that is a very communal nation. Like, as Becca said, like, we're all working for the similar goal. And like, if somebody's having a problem, you go up to a striding or a steady and be like, I need help. And most of the time, even if they don't know who you are, if they recognise you in Navarre, they'll be like, right, what is it? If we can help you, we will. It is a very like working together towards goal nation. It's a very communal and all together working towards it in what we're trying to achieve. I was going to make another point. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, it sounds like a real nice nation for a brand new player. If they're a brand new character or brand new to Empire LARP itself, like it sounds like a great nation for guidance. You know, if a player's not quite sure what they want to do or how they go about it, it sounds like you've got that real nice support sort of structure in place where, you know, you've got the freedom to just go up to any. I guess you could argue every nation has that to an extent, but it sounds like Navarre's real. They've got a good, like you say, communal spirit to it where, you know, you can just ask, feel free to ask and ask for help or whatever. Yeah, so it sounds ideal for potential new players.
Yeah, and like it's built into the culture. As I say, with the shrines and steadings, it's you're all working to support one another. The archetypes work to support one another. The stridings help the steadings help the stridings. It's about like finding where you're meant to be and what you can all achieve, and you're all working towards it. Somebody could be in the deepest, darkest woods of Bekeliand for months, and they're torn to shreds. They come back, the clothing is ruined, and they need to go to Anvil, and they stop at a steading, and they're saying like, right, here's a spare set of clothes. We'll repair your stuff when you come back. We'll give it to you then. And then like in turn, people will bring things to the steading, like, oh, we've got these materials for you that you needed to use to repair something. The culture is about working together to the joint goal of an oath that everybody has sworn. Every single one of you shares that oath.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sold.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did it. I have to play Dawn next. I'm legally bound to play Dawn next because that's what everyone voted for in our first episode. It was a choice between Dawn, where it came down to Dawn and Urizen, didn't it? And Dawn won in the end, just.
Dawn's stinky.
Going on my
no comment.
Maybe my thought on Navarre and why it'd be good for players old and new, which has sort of already been covered, but it sounds like it's got like a low entry level for kit and stuff. Like it's just easy to. We said earlier, you can have some trousers and a tunic, and I personally feel like if someone had that and the tattoos on, straight away you're a passable Navarre, you know. And I feel like maybe some other nations you've got to put a lot more work into your kit to kind of get to that sort of base level, whereas Navarre seems potentially quite an easy, let's say easy, but as in quite a nice way just to get in. You don't have to heavily invest in kit.
It's also one of the more generic fantasy concepts that a lot of people get brought along in. Like people love rangers, and as part of that, like a lot of LARP retailers sell that sort of costuming quite easily. So I think it's just accessible that way as well, in that it is one of the more generic. I think the nations that kind of struggle for being entry level is probably Urizen, Varushka, those are a bit harder to get base kit for.
Yeah.
Whereas Navarr, it's like, because it's one of those generic fantasy concepts, it can be quite easy to find really good kit for.
I think it's safe to say, like, I feel like Navarr, Varushka, and Wintermark kind of have similar base layers when it comes to trousers and tunics in a way. Where you,
I think Varushka's a bit different.
Yeah, well, I always say like quite often they share more with Wintermark, I guess, with their sort of base layer tunics and stuff, you know. But then you could, sort of Wintermark shares that similar with Navarr, like with these base layers on tunics and trousers, like it's kind of lower entry compared to, like you said, potentially even Brass Coast is quite.
Yeah, Brass Coast as well is quite a harder one to get.
And like even on an OC level, like out of character, like don't rely on this. Do not rely on this going into it. But a lot of the time, people will have spare weapons and armor, spare clothing. Like I have a wooden chest full of spare kit in case somebody turns up and like is missing something, or it rains and people get like soaked, so I can like hand it out. And it's the fact like I get a bunch of generic layers in greens and browns. I've got like cardigans and plain like brown plain like leather vests and things. That's just in case it's like, oh, your stuff's wet, right, chuck this on. And I can just mix and match bits of kit to help people along. And a lot of people in Navarr have spare things that they're happy to loan out to new players. Again, do not rely on that. Bring your own things. But if you're desperate, ask. Because in character and out of character, people will help.
Communal spirit, isn't it? Within the, it's obviously IC and OC in the Navarr lot by the sound of it, that you're all willing to help out.
Yeah, we mentioned it, stuff as well, but there is at Spring as well, at E2 as well. There's a free cycle that goes around where you can put down that you don't use anymore, and someone else can come pick that up, or you can like pick up something that you might be missing. It's just a free cycle of kit.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that probably, we've gone over time. We've definitely delved into Navarr today, and I could sit here and listen to more Navarr stuff all night. But in terms of me having to edit this down, we will.
2 hours.
We will have to wrap up. maybe.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, guys. I know it's not hard to believe, but I've learned a lot today because I didn't know much about Navarr to start with. But I've learned an incredible lot, and I get every time we do something like this, it just makes me enjoy Empire more. And Navarr itself sounds amazing as a nation.
It just makes it feel like a more of a living, breathing world. It's just nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's nice to just get that experience of learning more about the bigger world that is Empire, because sometimes if you're in your nation and you're doing your game, you don't get to experience these other nations, or you kind of do, but you don't get to learn about them. So this has been great to kind of have that. So
yeah, I agree. I think for me as well, I think I've said on a previous video, but when I first came to Empire, for me it was between Wintermark and Navarr. And the only reason I didn't go to Navarr was because I didn't know anyone in Navarr at the time. So it's always been sort of in the back of my mind to one day play Navarr. So I think that is still there.
Soon.
Join us.
Yeah.
We shall get you.
Stinky Dawn first for this Dornish character is gonna love a skirmish and a fight and love a risky situation. Let me tell you. I'll be in the next nation by Saturday morning for sure.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll tattoo you. It's fine. Just wander over. We'll get tattoos out.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's I know you've already explored this origin story, but maybe I could be a Dornish that wants to move to Navarr.
Yeah. Whatever.
We'll see. We'll see.
It's happened before. It's canon.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much to both of you for coming on. We really appreciate it. Fantastic way to kick off our sort of, I guess it's a sub-series of nation episodes, which hopefully anyone obviously watching now or in the future will be able to enjoy, and maybe it'll help them make an informed decision about what their next character would like to be. So you can catch that. You'll be able to catch this video and all of the future Nation videos on YouTube, where all of our other stuff is at the moment. So enjoy that, yeah. And as always, if you haven't joined the Discord yet, and you really want to see what Matt's getting up to in his garden, basically, do hop in. All of the links will be in the description on YouTube, or if you're watching live now, one has just gone out in the chat. Unfortunately, Discord's not easy to make links for, is it? You can't just say, "Oh, go to discord.gg/HP7MK6PX59." Although I have actually just done that, and people could pause this now and do that.
How simple! Yeah. And also check out our Facebook.
Yeah. Also, there's a Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, and that is it from us. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a great rest of your long weekend.
Enjoy your bank holiday.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks for some more magical chats. I didn't know if we were going to say what it was, but Matt did. It's magical chat. Spells and stuff.
Ooh.
So we will catch you then.
Bye.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah, thank you both.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.